Pouring into ourselves as women with Jyoti Lohman. Mompreneurs, stay-at-home moms, moms, working moms, wives, girlfriends, partners, lover. We're all women, and we're all human beings with needs and desires. Most of us were brought up to fill other people's cup before our own. Pouring into ourselves is not what most of us are wired to do on a regular basis. If you relate to what I've just said, this episode is going to be for you. Welcome aboard the podcast, A Woman's Spark with Janik, a place to show women how powerful they are and remind them of the spark that they carry, the strength that gets us up every day, a place to feel seen and understood when we don't fully have what it takes to get back up on a hard day. This podcast is to help women heal and become the best version of themselves during the roller coaster of life. We're building a community of women that wants to help one another and inspire each other to become stronger and more united as we were born to be. Today, we're discussing the topic of pouring into ourselves. Well, did you know? The data shows that mothers carry a large share of unpaid work. Globally, women and girls over 15 spend about 3.2 times more time of unpaid care than men. And in the first years of a child's life, parents need time, enrichment, and protection from stress. But those same conditions are often missing from others. Research on maternal investment find that depression, fatigue, and cognitive load can reduce a mother's ability to invest in structured play and other developmental activities. What does underinvestment in self looks like? Well, for many women and mothers, underinvestment means delaying medical care, skipping rest, reducing exercise, pausing career development, and having little uninterrupted time for learning or recovery. The research doesn't always use the phrase investing in themselves, but it consistently shows that the early childhood years are marked by high maternal sacrifice and low personal bandwidth. Well, this happened. Why does this happen, you say? Well, it's the biggest driver is not a lack of caring or ambition, but it's the structural thing, a limited pay leave, high childcare costs, social expectations of good motherhood, and the mental load of managing both home and child development. One study on parental investment found mothers often feel strong pressure to meet intensive parenting standard, which can crowd out personal time and self-care. Why does self-investment matter, you ask? Well, when mothers are better supported, children benefit too. Evidence from early childhood and leave policy research suggests that lower maternal stress is associated with healthier infant development, while supporting parents in the earliest years improve both family outcome and broader economic outcomes. In practice, investing in the mother is often also an investment in the child and in the family. So today we're speaking to Jyoti Lohman. She's a mom, an entrepreneur and a mompreneur. She founded The Beauty Way. She's here to tell us her story about her experience with juggling and balancing it all, how it shaped her journey, and where she is now. When we come back, we welcome Jyoti. Welcome back to a Woman's Spark podcast with Janik. On the show today, we're welcoming Jyoti Lohman. Jyoti is the founder of The Beauty Way, a luxury body care brand rooted in ritual, intention, and the philosophy of living in balance and beauty. After a career in fashion and years devoted to motherhood, she felt called to create something that invited women back to themselves in a meaningful way. Her work is centered on inspiring women to pour into themselves daily through body care, not as a routine, but as a ritual, a purposeful pause, a moment to reconnect, nourish, and to remember that caring for yourself is not an afterthought, but a foundation. Through thoughtful formulations and elevated experiences, she creates space for women to slow down, be present, and embody a sense of beauty that begins within. Please welcome our spark of the day, Jyoti. Hi, Jyoti.
Hi, thank you so much. What a beautiful introduction. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much.
Well, it's all to do with what you've created. And today we're talking about pouring into ourselves as a stay-at-home mom. Can you tell us your story about what came before you started pouring into yourself?
Yes, absolutely. So I was fortunate to grow up with a mom who really poured into herself. So it really kind of began as a child and watching my mom go through stressful situations with a brother who was in and out of the hospital. And so we had these pretty stressful situations. And I really watched her take time to nurture herself, moving her body, energy work, retreats, and then also massage and facials and just really taking that time to pour back into herself in these stressful situations. So it was something that I noticed and was as just part of who she was as a child. And then as I became a mom, I went, oh, okay, that's what she was doing, right? Because she was so able to show up for us in such an incredible 100% way without diminishing her own spark and who she is as a woman, and really fueling that being able to show up 100%. So as when I became a mom, and there was times that I was, postpartum where it's like, the thoughts in your head are not the most positive and your body's changed and it's different, and you just, there's this new being that is you give 100% to, and we have to, and we're so focused on presence with our children and our career, but um I really realized, and what I really want to share is presence with ourself also.
Mhm.
I think that's a really powerful thing. So I have been a stay-at-home mom for years, and when my daughter was about 1, I've always been very much into products and into clean and understanding that our skin is our largest organ. So what we're putting on it topically is really, really important. We're concerned with what we're eating, but what we put on topically is really important, health wise. And I wanted to bring mantras and affirmation and positive thoughts. I think the most important conversation we have is the one with ourselves, into something we do every single day. And that's skincare, body care. Especially when you're postpartum, you need to take that shower daily,
Yep.
as you're adjusting to sleep and all the things. So I wanted to bring this moment back to anyone who's busy. I think if you have children or not, there is so much going on in our lives and so much output and so much input, that I really wanted to create this purposeful pause. And the body care is a powerful tool because it's something you do every day and it
Mhm.
becomes sort of this ritual. So I've got affirmations on the products. You're, rubbing your skin, which you're crossing your heart. It's this position is one where our vital organs are protected, and it's a signal to ourselves that we're safe, we're protected, and we're loved. So
Mhm.
using that body care and having those affirmations, I really wanted to create that purposeful pause in our routine that turns into a self-love ritual.
Let's rewind a little bit. When you
Yeah.
were having your children and
Mhm.
you were in that, you mentioned it, when we have our baby, we have to have a shower every day. We don't always do by lack of time or by lack of not wanting to
Yeah,
leave our baby behind.
right.
Um, what were those moments for you that you didn't pour into yourself?
I think there was many of them. I realized, like I said, I had seen my mom care for herself, and I had always been very good about self-care as before I was a mom. I always took the time to really reset and recharge. And when I became a mom, it's just, I was flooded with a new experience of, having these babies and not, and kind of almost forgetting all the things that I had learned. And just one day, I don't know that I lost myself. I don't know that it was that of a serious of an emotion, but I could tell something was really off. And I just started with some meditation to quiet my mind, and to allow myself to figure out what I needed. And in those moments, I just sort of was reminded of my mom taking the time and truly building that into her schedule. And we never felt that we weren't being cared for. It was just she was having presence with herself so she could show up. So it was in those moments where I just couldn't figure out quite what was off. And, everything was great with the kids. And, but there was this creativity as an entrepreneur that was growing, and this vision of really creating space for myself to take care of myself. And then
Mhm.
those came together, and I started to realize that as I built in those times, I said those powerful mantras, I started to feel better about my body and myself,
Absolutely.
and building in those times, and then started becoming a really ritual, and I looked forward to that space, and I was like, "Oh, I'm calmer, I'm more patient, I actually can. I see what my mom was doing. I'm actually able to show up more and be more present with my kids when I was present with myself."
Yep.
And, that entrepreneur in me went, "Okay, now let's bring these together and let's share this and let's remind women." And I think, what I'm doing is it, it's not this huge innovative idea, but what it is, it's a reminder. And constantly, we just need to be reminded of things we already know. Just a reminder, an invitation, an inspiration to slow down and create that purposeful pause for yourself.
Hmm.
Especially these days I mean, it's like we have every device going and dinging and alarms and all the things. So, um, and it's something that I truly, I mean, I built this brand myself needing to know that I wanted to take care of myself and say those affirmations. So it's something I
Hmm.
really, really live by and
But
feels great to share.
you were lucky enough to have a good example in your mother that showed you to take
Yes.
care of yourself. But for the listeners who don't necessarily have a good example in front of them, or a person that is a parent that was taking care of themselves, and also I think we can add into the mix that you remember when she was taking care of herself and you were probably older, but from maybe 0 to 5, she had to learn herself how to take care of herself. And like most moms, stay at home moms, or not even stay at home moms, motherhood in general, from 0 to 5, the kid rarely remembers that. And the woman has to learn to
Yeah.
take care of herself. Eventually
Yeah.
it's nice to have it as an example, but from 0 to 5, maybe your mother didn't have um, that experience from her parents, but she learned it on her own and felt like, ooh, like you said at the beginning, oh, I'm having these moments. What's happening? I'm not feeling like myself. You decided to ground yourself. You decided to breathe. You decided to, l-
Yes.
read some affirmations. So for women out there who are experiencing all these out of body experiences where it's like, I don't feel like myself, what do you recommend for them in those moments?
I really think, again, the reason sort of why I did the body care piece is I think it's so much about the little tiny habits we do every day. I think when we get overwhelmed, we think like we got to change our diet and we got to meditate 30 minutes and we got to work out every day and we got to make sure we get our protein. And,
Is
we,
very long of what we
the
should do.
list is so long. Yeah. I've been guilty of that too. Like, okay, I need a reset. Okay, let's reset everything. And rarely does that work. Rarely do we have the time or energy to do these huge shifts. So I'm just really a fan of little shifts. And if you're doing breath work for 2 minutes and meditation for 5, and you're getting in the shower and you're using your products and you're saying one really powerful, positive affirmation to yourself. I watch myself when I'm going busy, 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 and I stop and I say that, you know, I choose love. I create beauty and abundance in my life. It's like all of a sudden my brain goes, ah. So I think that if it's not an example that you set, and my mom didn't have that example, she's just what's so incredible about her is she's such a seeker, and she just was seeking all these ways to um, feel nurtured because she didn't feel nurtured growing up,
Mhm.
and she was in these very stressful situations, and so she was just such a seeker and finding those ways, and I feel so fortunate to have that example and really realizing it when my children were little. But I think for women that don't have that example and that maybe feel guilty, start small. And
Mm.
it's using, you know in your shower, take a deep breath and say something kind to yourself. Remind yourself something you love about yourself. I love to write down 5 things that I'm proud of. It's just these little things that remind yourself and give yourself that intrinsic validation that just helps us show up for ourselves and for other people. So I just don't think it needs to be this huge reset. I think there's so much going on. And I also don't think wellness is like about adding a bunch of stuff or taking away a bunch of stuff. I think it's finding the balance where you feel good and you're creating positive, small daily habits that add up to these big changes over time that make you feel connected back into yourself. And I
Mm,
think my children can always tell, um, and I can tell with myself when I haven't been, because I've got to remind myself too. We get busy, we forget things, we're in all these different places, and I have to remind myself. But it's like I have that presence with myself, and then I show up with my kids, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah. So yeah,
yeah,
I think it's starting small and finding
absolutely.
those things that really work for you.
So, out of those fractional little moments, what positive came out of it?
Well, I think right now where I stand is, I'm still very much of a stay-at-home mom in the sense that they're not in after school, and so I'm still, picking them up and activities, and we're still spending a lot of time together. And I'm building this brand that is and this company, um, and being able to share this vision simultaneously without the guilt and taking time to be present in my marriage, taking time to be present with my children, taking time to be present with myself and building something. And, I've taken it to the next level at this point. Now I'm working with really high-end upscale spas and creating these treatments around women feeling nourished with sound healing and breath work and using the products and mantras. And so taking it that step further where you can go and actually experience these things, um, where you're cocooned in that self-care moment and then hopefully, taking that home with you. So I think the benefit um, for me is that the guilt of nurturing who I am has been removed and I'm able to do, I'm not doing it all perfectly, but I really do feel like I'm getting to nurture who I am as a woman and giving myself grace. I'm able to show up for my kids and, in my friendships as a daughter and all these different roles. And I feel there's I don't know that I don't really know about a balance, but I do feel a harmony. I feel a
Mhm.
harmony between these. And I think it's because I've built in the moments to have reflection, to connect back with myself, to check in with myself, and to love myself.
Mm. What was the moment where you were pouring into yourself that turned into I want to create?
I think they are they coexist so much because I started to do these affirmations and taking the time when my daughter was when I was a year postpartum and I was just feeling that kind of ick feeling, and that's when I really started to slow down. And as a creative and someone who has been an entrepreneur since um, I had the lemonade stand and I had a card company and I used to pick flowers and sell them door to door. And both my parents are entrepreneurs. So it's always sort of been brewing. Um, and it's kind of when those two kind of came together at a very similar part. And I think the entrepreneurship journey is part of me pouring into myself because that was that creative part that was like, okay, I want there's I love this and I love staying at home and there's this other part of me. So, um, and I don't think everyone needs to be an entrepreneur. I don't know, but do have to find that part
That balance.
that balance of pouring
Mm,
into yourself. And as a creative and someone who, had a very creative job prior to staying home with my kids, I worked in, visual direction in fashion. So it was very much about creating beautiful
beauty.
spaces and
Yeah?
yeah, creating beauty. It was such a part of my personality and that wasn't something I wanted to go back to. So I just knew I am out of balance when I'm not creating.
Mhm.
And for a long time with my children, it was staying at home and doing the sensory projects and creating the art until it wasn't. So it's different seasons and it's staying in touch and in tune with what you need in these different seasons and just knowing that it changes and it evolves, and allowing that space for yourself.
And for the listeners who are not stay-at-home moms, but they're working
Mhm.
moms, how would you recommend that they find their own balance into pouring into themselves?
I think it's quiet for me. I mean, I think it's really simple and also really hard. I think it's carving out that space to quiet our minds. Um, because of all the noise. I mean, it's really what I had to do because there was so much noise in my own head as well as everyone else, and what we're supposed to be doing and how we're supposed to be doing it and all these different things. And I think it's just um, working on seeking what it is that's gonna help you, and that's if it's creative, but I mean, I think it's so different for everybody, and so I think it's really tuning in. It's just quieting some space to give yourself some, and a lot of times I think a lot in the shower. That's like, I don't know if it's like something about the water and the quiet, and I'm not listening, to music, or the TV's not on. There is some time to sort of be reflective, but I would just suggest 5 minutes a day in some sort of reflection. And not I would also say that, I think sometimes we go, "Okay, I'm sitting here and I'm ready to, I'm still I'm still going. I'm seeking to figure it out." I think what I like to do is I sit in, and it can be for 2 minutes or 5 minutes or 10 minutes, but I would sit in a place where you can have some quiet, and I would just be open to receive.
I really like your suggestion about the shower because we all have to shower,
Yep.
once a day. So it's a good
Yeah,
time to
yep.
like combine the two into one. We got to wash. We've got to,
Yep.
and washing your body is a good time for affirmations. I'm beautiful. I like
All
my
the things.
arms. I like my neck. It can all be
Yep.
combined together, and you have to wash yourself. Therefore,
Yep.
you can combine the two if you have less time. Let's put it this way.
Yep. So all my products have affirmations on them for that reason. It's a habit stacking. So I'm going to be kind to myself. I'm going to wash my body. I'm going to nurture with really great ingredients, and I'm going to say those mantras. Um, the body wash is my actions align with my heart's desire. And I think
Mm,
when you really let that sink in, that's I'm what I want to create. Those habits and those actions are getting me closer to that. And if they
mm.
aren't, then sort of readjusting, right? The polish is I create beauty and abundance in my life. I've got a soak that is I'm open to receive all the good that life has to offer. That's a Sunday reset I do with the bath soak, and I think that's an intentional mantra for that Sunday reset for me. Just being open to what is out there and is available. And again, these may sound simple, but it's a reset in your brain. I breathe deeper after I say something kind to myself. So whatever those are, I think it's a powerful thing to do. But I would just say also just be open to receiving um, those messages, and we don't have to try so hard. I think when we can take a few deep breaths and receive the information and quiet the mind, you know how to move forward. But even if you're not getting these, it's not about these big messages like here's what you're going to do that's going to be your purpose. But it's building in those small habits of reflection time that have always helped me to get to the next place. And I still do it. I mean, I do it daily because there's lots of moving parts as my kids get older and as the business grows. And I really want to stay connected to that that part of myself that is
You.
habitually
Is
nurturing
you.
myself, is
Not
me,
to lose yourself, right? It's
not
easy
to
to
lose
lose
yourself.
ourselves with the turmoil and the tornado of things to do on it during a day with our children, with our relationship, with our work, with even with ourselves. Sometimes
Yeah.
just coming back to the roots and not forgetting who we are at the
And
base.
keeping it simple. Again, I think that's
Absolutely.
that's a wellness practice that you can hold on to. It's keeping it simple. It's giving yourself the space for some quiet.
Absolutely.
And reminding yourself that conversation with yourself is really powerful. And people say a lot, like, if you were talking to yourself as a little girl, how would you speak to her,
Mhm. I like that.
or
I
how would you
really
speak
like
to your
that
daughter?
imagery.
Yeah.
Jyoti, where can we find the beauty way? Where can we find you for people who are not living near you? Where can we find it?
hmm I'm online at thebeautywayco.com, so you can find my stuff on my website. You can follow me on Instagram, and that's thebeautyway_co.
All the details are going to be in the summary. So if you want to go and check her website or her Instagram, just click below.
Yeah, and if you are, um, I'm working on nationwide, but if you are in Austin, Texas, you can go experience these really soul nurturing treatments that we've created at different resorts here in Texas, and I have a store locator. So, yeah,
Thank you very much, Jyoti. Before we end the
yeah,
podcast, is there a final piece of advice you'd like to give to the women who are listening to this podcast about pouring into ourselves?
just start. Start
I
tomorrow
like that.
morning. Carve out 5 minutes. I mean, really, truly, 5 minutes to sit with yourself and think of that little girl and how much you value her, and
Absolutely.
what a, perfect little being she is, and just start
She
small and
deserves it.
start. She deserves it.
Yeah.
No matter what, we're all learning.
Jyoti, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you
To
for having
all
me.
to all you beautiful women out there pouring into others and want to rebuild on yourself, today's the day that you need to start. Don't wait to be on empty or on the path. You'll have good and bad days. So please, as the artist Banksy said, learn to rest, not to quit. You deserve all the
Perfect.
TLC in the world. You are seen and you are not alone. You matter and your life is worth living. So your journey doesn't define you. Keep pouring into yourself one day at a time. Like Jyoti said, 5 minutes a day. This is one day at a time. You'll see the difference. In a week's time,
Yes.
in a month's time, you'll have a full difference in who you are and reconnecting with your own body. Thank you again, Jyoti. This is it for us for today. Tune in every week on your favorite podcast platform. If you want to get involved with the Be Guided, Be Inspired community, write us at www.beguidedbeinspired.com. Write us and we'll connect together. Let's change the world of women, one conversation at a time. Keep sparkling, you beautiful women. Have a nice day.